Merry belated Christmas, everybody, and I hope that everybody's going to have a good New Year. But I'm being realistic. Now, I doing this live stream so I don't have to upload it to YouTube. And people make brilliant videos, but to get real answers, you can't type it out in in the comment section to get everybody to understand what you're talking about. This right here, the Tyson plant in Lexington, Nebraska, is closing. Lots of people are going to lose their job. 1 in 3 people that live in Lexington are going to be unemployed. Who made that decision? 15 to 20 people on the boards of directors of the Tyson company decided that. What they decided is they're going to end up destroying that town. They're going to go into bankruptcy. Other businesses are going to be affected and happen to close down, just like a lot of places in this country, like Detroit, Flint, Youngstown, Ohio, Camden, New Jersey, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Baltimore. Then the list goes on and on. Now, for Lexington, this is early. And I hope that this reaches some of those employees that work at that plant. There is a way to save your job and to save everybody else and to save that town. Yes, it does work, but you got to be willing to listen. There are people that have done this many a time. It's nothing new. Has it been successful? Very. What are the newest ones? Your small farm towns in northwestern Iowa have done this. And I know your plant very well, and it's a nice plant. I was there 2 months ago, got a load out of there. If you notice, I drive a truck for a living. I got a load out of there. About every other month, I'd get a load out of Lexington, Nebraska there, Tyson plant. But here's how you're going to save your job, save your life, and possibly improve it. You got to get a lot of the employees to get involved in this. The more, the better. And if the CEO or the people that are in charge of that Tyson plant want to get involved, let them go ahead. If they want to hear this. But they're going to leave. They're going to abandon your town. But they're not responsible for the mess that they leave behind. So what you do is you get your mayor involved. You get your governor involved. And if possible, the senator. Okay? The more the better. But you have to get the mayor involved. And you need to tell the mayor, they're moving out of here. They're literally going to destroy our town by taking the majority of the people's jobs away in this town, which is going to destroy us. We're going to let them go. Go. We don't need you. But this is what I would tell the Tyson people. We don't need you. But let me tell you something, sir. We're going to take this plant, and we're going to take everything in it. And we already know who all the customers are. And we're going to make a co-op. And we're going to compete against you. And we will defeat you. It's happened many a time. You want to know why they're closing that plant? Because they're profiting, okay? They're just not getting the kind of profits that they would like. You know, they're still profiting billions. I mean, how much more do you frickin' need? But for you employees to take that place, run it as usual, and nothing changes. You run it as usual. But there's nobody at the top collecting the surplus that you all create. After all the bills are paid and everybody's paid like normal, what's left is called the surplus. And then you people sit around on a Friday and decide what to do with it. You want to save it for a rainy day? Fine. You want to, use it for an expansion plan? Hey, that's fine too. But it turns that workplace into a democracy. One person, one vote. And it becomes community owned. This is not nothing new. It's very old. They've been doing this up in Minnesota and Wisconsin for years. And for those who don't know, if you are an NFL fan, the Green Bay Packers is community owned. I'm sure you know that, right? That's why that team can never be sold or moved because it's run like a worker cooperative. And all the jobs around Lambeau Field, if you go to Green Bay, are worker co-ops. They don't have an unemployment problem or a drug problem or things like that you see all over this country problems. You don't see it there. Why? Because people have a job, they're contributing to society like normal, and they're making a living and being taken care of. That's the whole point. But you get your mayor involved and your governor, and you need to tell them, you need to help us with this project. You need to give us a tax break, and you need to provide financing. You need to give us this, this, and this. And if you do this for us, we'll campaign for you across the state or the town to make sure you get reelected. You save this town. You turn the page against what's happening here and what's affecting the majority of the people in this town. But I can only briefly look at Chad. I notice there's somebody here. But this goes for any plant across the country that's closing. You can do this. It only takes a little bit of effort from a few employees. Get everybody involved. Say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go and have a meeting with the mayor and try to get the governor and say, this is what we need to do. In order to save these jobs and save this community, we need to take this over this business and run it as a worker co-op. And like the Tyson plant there, it's a beautiful plant. It would be perfect. You run it the same way, just slap a different label on it instead of Tyson, come up with a new name. You know, for instance, just call it Lexington beef or Lexington chicken. Lexington meats. It's a good name as any. You do just run it the same way. Because believe you me, that plant was profitable. Just not enough for a few corporate capitalist elites. That's all. It wasn't profitable enough. And it's like, okay, what are you in business for? Just for you to make millions? Like the CEO, the guy in charge there made $20 million? There's nobody worth $20 million. Nobody's worth that. You take that $20 million, get everybody a raise, a good size raise in that company. More of a livable wage. I'll tell you what, man. People are. I see your comment. I'm sorry. I can only glance. But yeah, Jim Beam, Cincinnati Juice. Yeah, they're not. People aren't going to like that, and it's going to cost more. As a matter of fact, I just left Ohio. I live in Ohio. I'm headed over here to Greenfield, Indiana, to the Smithfield plant. I just got to drop this trailer off full of pork. I got out of North Carolina. My next load will probably come out of that Smithfield plant. But we do a lot of Smithfield. We do a lot of Tyson. We do a lot of JBS. I do a lot of meat loads. And that's the way you do this. The future of employment in this country is worker cooperatives. It's where we take those corporate capitalist elites and we throw them under a bus like they threw the American worker under a bus for the past 40 years for cheap foreign labor. It turns the tables on them. And I'd ask the people, Would you like to continue to work in this top-down hierarchical meritocracy, or would you like to work in a democratic workplace? And what would be the logic? Freedom of choice. Everybody likes freedom of choice in this country. Everybody likes democracy. It just excludes the workplace, where 5 out of 7 days we all spend our adult lives. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, did he say only here but not there? Not that I know of. If it's good for where we live, maybe it's good for the other. And it works out lovely. I would just hope that this reaches the right ears there to try to save that town. Lexington, I never lived there. I've been there a few times picking up loads out of Tyson. Shopped at the Walmart there right off the highway. Been stuck at that Walmart during a blizzard once. But I'd hate to see that happen to that town. Because this is happening all across the country. And people are answers. But the right answers, and the only answer, is worker cooperative. We don't need those corporate capitalists to say, okay, you're hired, you work here. You don't need that. And to create a surplus for them to enjoy. You create a surplus for your employer, and a big surplus. That means a lot of people that go through life saying they'll never work for anybody who doesn't pay them what they're worth. I got real bad news for you. That's never happened, and it never will. That statement to yourself is your way of having to avoid in the economic system in which you live. You never get paid what you're worth. You get paid what you agree on in an arm's length transaction, and you're going to create a whole lot more for that employer. But a worker co-op doesn't work that way. And people would be more than happy to come to work and put in 100% effort because they know they're partaking in the success of the business. They're part of the apparatus that makes the decisions. What to do, when to do, where to do it, what are we going to do with the profits, instead of being excluded from it. Share this with your coworkers. Think about it, engage it. And for the next 24 hours, I'll keep an eye on the comment section here. And if everybody's interested, I'll create another live stream on StreamYard and bring people up to the panel and let them speak or ask questions that they have. And I just hope that I have an answer. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend that I have all the answers. But I'm not going to bullshit you either. Because believe it or not, we all live in the same country together. And yes, it may not be happening to me yet or anybody else, but eventually it will. These sort of things happen unevenly. And I seen this video today about this, and people getting beat up, especially Nebraskans getting beat up because they voted against their own interest. Well, we all make mistakes, okay? And to tell you the truth, at least since I was born, everybody's been voting against their interests as long as I've been on this planet, except for me. There was only one time I voted for one of the parties, and it was Democrat, and I voted for Obama the first time. But all the other times when I voted, ever since I turned 18, when I turned 18 and became eligible to vote, it was during the Daddy Bush, Bill Clinton, Ross Perot political season. And I voted for Ross Perot as a third party. And he was pointing this out back then of our issue. He called it a mess, which it was. He pointed this out back then, but nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to pay attention to it, or it didn't exist, or they didn't believe it. It's sad that it had to get to this point. But I'm not going to beat them up for who they voted for, because if you look at it, I was born in 1970. If you look at it, ever since then, people just seem to enjoy doing the Texas two-step every 4 to 8 years. Every 4 to 8 years, we go to the right. Every 4 to 8 years, we go to the left, and nothing gets done. Why? Because the corporate capitalist elite neutered our government by buying it, so it cannot operate an appropriate way for the mass of American people. Why do you think that when the American people need help, they act like an old flaccid man's dick and don't do anything? But when a corporation needs a bailout, here you go. Here's the key to the treasury. Here's $800 billion, AIG. No problem. Think about that for a moment. That right there just proved it. And by the way, the other people I voted for in third party, this last election, I voted for Jill Stein. Like I did the election before that. However, I would have voted for Bernie Sanders if he became the Democratic nominee, which he's an independent. But we obviously know, and there's plenty of evidence that shows, that Bernie won that, not Hillary. Nobody wanted Hillary. We wanted Bernie. But that didn't happen. Oh, Jesus Christ. But before that, before the Jill Stein thing, I was voting for Ralph Nader. But nobody pays attention to the third party candidate, which you want something different? That tends to be what the American people want and is not going to vote against your own interests. Maybe you ought to try a third party. But this is what happened after Roosevelt passed away in 1945. The Republican Party went to work, and the first thing they did, no president can serve more than 2 terms. We were told because we don't want a tyrant to come to power, what in truth, they don't want another Roosevelt to become president. Because Roosevelt, the most popular president we ever had, was reelected 3 times. He was a quasi-saint because of what he did. What he did created the middle class in this country. And it was against what the corporate capitalist elite wanted. And when he died, they started rolling back the New Deal. And most of it's gone. Everything that we got in the New Deal is all gone. We are now returned to 1930s economic America. With the exception, Social Security still exists, but they've been trying to get rid of it too. And capitalism, ever since then, has been taking credit for something it fought against. But this is what economists have been trying to preach to the masses, to get out to more people. Worker cooperatives is the way to go. It'll only take a handful of you people at Tyson there in Lexington to get a meeting with the mayor and say, we need to take over this plant and take everything that's in it, run it the same way under a new name, and run it as a worker co-op. That means it's community owned, and there's no corporate capitalist elite at the top collecting the surplus. No, the workers there decide what is done with the surplus. And it would save everybody's job. Sure, it's an undertaking, but it's well worth it. And if you talk to the mayor and the governor and you tell them, look, if you don't help us with this project, your political career is over. But if you do, we'll campaign for you. That you save this plant, you save this community, and turn the page against what's been going against the American working class. And you'll become very popular. Yes, they will. You only need to say those few words and they know exactly what's going on. And if they do this and it gets off the ground and they start doing, they know that their political career is secure because they're not going to want anybody else to come in as a new mayor to screw things up. But this goes with everybody. If you work at a plant, the Jim Beam plant, all of it, run it the same way. Take over the plant instead of closing it down. Like Jim Beam, you can make the booze the same way. Call it something else. Put a new label on it. Redesign the bottle. Shouldn't be a problem. But shit, Jim Beam, I don't drink, but Jim Beam is a big name. As a matter of fact, I got one of the rare bottles and I still have not opened it and I have no intentions of opening it because the label has the Chicago Cubs logo on it and the seal that goes over the top, it's not broken and it says Game 7 batch of the World Series. I've had that on my shelf since I got it the day of Game 7 of the World Series in 2016. And everybody knows not to touch that bottle because those are rare and I don't even think you can find another one. Wasn't a whole lot of those bottles made. But this is an olive branch to my brethren out there at that Tyson plant. And I hope you can take heed and I support you. But if you leave comment in the comment section that you want me to do a live stream with a panel and we can all discuss this, I'd love to have you guys on here. As many employees as we can get and talk about this. Because I hate to see people lose their job and their livelihood. I've always been for the working class. It's the way I was raised. But you guys have a good day, and hopefully this reaches you. Y'all have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.